Now, history of management thought. So, whenever we'll be discussing about history of management thought, so we must remember that what was the primitive occupation of mankind, and you must be knowing that initially the human being they started as a farmer, and everybody was farmer before this nomadic life. Like prior to farming, the human being just used to roam from one place to another. But once human being they start settling down at one place, and it is because of the evolution of agriculture. So farming was the main activity for the large masses once the people they settle down in the villages, or like in some making certain human settlements, uh, and then farming was the main activity for the masses. And manual worker and the cultivating manually or with the help of some animals was the way how the people used to do this farming. But since everything was done manually, and what they used to do, they simply they plow the land and then they throw the seeds into the land, and they're just dependent on weather. And if the weather is good, there will be good production, and if the weather is not so favorable, then the production wouldn't be that good. So this was how everything was done. But one problem that the farmers were facing, that the seeds they planted, majority of the seeds they were eaten by the birds. Why? Because the seeds were on the surface of the earth, and the birds was finding it very easy to eat all those seeds, because birds also they need food, and those seeds somehow they become the food for the birds, and they eat most of the seeds, and ultimately their production suffers, and the result was the low farm productivity. So if someone has thrown in on a particular plot of land say 100 seeds, so ultimately at the end of the cropping season it was found that only 50% of the seeds were grown up, because remaining 50% of the seeds were eaten out by the birds. So definitely the productivity will be just 50% based on the 50%, and plus the dependence on the monsoon and the weather is another thing, if that was the reason. And the result is the farmer is not so happy, unhappy farmer. Now if the farmer is unhappy, then what was the discovery? And you know that 2500 years BC there was invention of iron, though copper was invented prior to iron. So copper was invented somewhere around 4500 years back, not 2500 BC, but 2500 years back. Copper was invented 4500 years back, and the iron was invented 2500 years back during the time of Gautam Buddha. And because of this invention of copper, some tools, not copper, some this iron, some tools they started to be made, and one such tool was to plant seeds below the earth. So this is instrument visible on the screen, and what they used to do with this tool, that the earth will be digged a little, and the seeds will be put inside the earth, and after that on this some soil will be placed on the above the seeds, and as a result it was very difficult for the birds to find out those seeds and to eat. And this was a very simple invention, that the seeds will be planted below the surface of the soil, so that the birds will not be able to eat those seeds. And the result was that the productivity of the farmland it has increased, because now 100% of the seeds are showing the light of the day, and 100% of the seeds are becoming productive. So this is another tool related to this seeding only. So here it is more mechanized and more advanced version of the previous one, that it is just placed inside the earth, so that holes at equidistant level intervals were made inside the earth, and the seeds are placed inside those holes, and then some soils are placed above those holes, and The result was that 100% of the farm productivity, 100% of the seeds become productive. Now the birds were not able to eat all those seeds. This is the modern instrument which is used for seeding. Uh, Seeding. Okay. And the result is that the birds cannot eat those seeds. And since the birds cannot eat those seeds, the productivity of the farmland, it has increased. Now, the more productivity of the farmland increases the income of the farmer. And now the question is, was the farmer happy now? Was the farmer happy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the
Yes,
farmer was supposed to be happy,
yes,
but the farmer was not happy because his income has increased, and increase in the income has increased the demand for the clothes, demand for the shoes, and there was more demand for all these consumable items which is coming from the farmers end. And as a result, the persons who were supplying, who were manufacturing all those things like the tailor or the cobbler or the any other persons who were selling the consumable items, there was a queue before those shops or the establishments selling all those products. Now the farmer is also not right now. The farmer is also not happy because his income has increased, his productivity has increased, income has increased, and now he's not able to enjoy because he's not able to get the product of his choice because of the limited availability of those products in those shops or the establishments which are selling those products. Now again he is not happy. Now what happened? The result is unhappy farmer. Now the farmer is not happy, so now the persons who were supplying all those garments or the shoes or any other consumable items, they also started to think how to increase their production, and they have started increasing their production. So the invention of machines was one such thing, and it was during this 18th century this invention of machines started in Europe. This spinning mills and then printing press was the two important inventions during those time, and after that lot of inventions took place, but these were the two prime inventions during those days. And it is also important to note that as I just mentioned the date, it was in the 18th century. So remember, this 18th century is the time period when the Britishers, they have invaded India, and the British East India Company, they settled, they made a colony in India. It was in 1757, the Battle of Plassey was there, and uh, they have established a settlement in India, British East India Company, and the Robert Clive, the commander of British India Company, when he was going back to England, so the total goods and the commodities was shipped in 900 ships. This was the number of, and this was the amount of wealth, the quantum of wealth he has looted from India, and he took it from India to England. And it is now interesting to note that the roots of industrial revolutions were rooted in India, that the wealth looted from India was used for setting all those machines and to do this commercial production of all those new inventions. And a lot of startups started in Europe, and the machines were given to the artisans, to the people, to produce more and more such commodities. And now because of the invention of machines, mechanized production, the production have increased. Now the farmer who some times ago was not happy because he is not able, in spite of having income, he is not able to enjoy his income because of not having the adequate amount of goods and the products in the market. Now he is able to enjoy. Now the question is, what was the result? So because of this mechanization, there was more farm productivity, because the machines were also used for producing in agricultural farmland. This has increased the income of the farmer, and because of the mechanization, the quantum of farm activity, it was also reduced. There was a lesser farm activity earlier. a farmer used to work manually in the farmland, and that's why throughout the day or throughout the year he used to be busy in the farmland. Now because of the machines, he was not busy in the agriculture throughout the day or throughout the year. He was busy only some part of the day or in some part of the year, and rest of the works were done by the machines only. And because of this, he has more time, and because of this increase in the farm productivity, he has sold some part of his farmland to the industries, because now industrialization have also started, and now all those industries, they have to set up industries. And where those industries will be set up? Definitely those industries will be set up on some land, and incidentally all those lands, they happen to be the farmland, and so the farmers, they got attractive price remuneration for their land, and they sold the farmland to some of the industries. And now the question is, was he happy now? Was he happy now? Was the farmer happy now? Yes, tell me. Yes?
No, sir.
Why he is not happy?
Sir, what will he be doing after selling out the land? I mean, having money is okay, but
Yeah.
what
No,
next thing he will do?
he has enough for to get his livelihood from the small, for the remaining plot of land, because the farm productivity has increased, so his income is also increased. So in a lesser agricultural land, he is producing more, and his income is also more because of this mechanization. So his income has increased. He has more leisure time. Now the question is, was he happy now? But he is not happy. Still he is not happy. Why the person is not happy? Because now he has more leisure time. Earlier, throughout the day, I told you that throughout the day or throughout the year, he used to be occupied in the farmland, and that's why I'm getting for the same amount of income. Now he is getting more income, more products to consume, like more clothes, better shoes, better equipment, better his living standard has improved because of the mechanization. Now he has more leisure time. Now if he has more leisure time, then what will he do? he need he has more leisure time, and that's why he need to travel around, because he has leisure time. Now he want to enjoy that time qualitatively. So what will he do? He will travel somewhere. He want to visit his friends, he want to see new places, he want to visit his relatives or her relatives. This was the requirement, this was the immediate need arises among the masses. And as a result, the invention of this wheel have also uh, created or manufactured some automobiles. So initially this was the type of automobile, and then motor car was invented during the same period. Because of the invention of a steam engine, this motor car was invented, and then gradually diesel engine was invented. And because of this invention of the motor cars, this transportation facility have increased, and there was a need for more roads, more transportation facilities. And all these things, in invention of wheel, motor car, diesel engine, earlier this steam engine, and then diesel engine, and the development of road network have created the demand for more leisure time, more quality travel among the farmers. And that's why he is also now working to get all those things. And because of this, it constructs, now there is more and more industrialization, so more agricultural land become industrial land. And the land which was earlier used for cultivation, now they become used for transportation, because the roads were constructed. So now even the agricultural land was reduced significantly because of all these things. Now there is increased industrialization, and it has increased the income of the farmer. It has reduces the farm activity, once again reduces dependency on agriculture, because he has other sources of income, and because he is not now engaging throughout the day in agriculture, so he has lot of time, some extra time, so he is also busy. He is spending some time in working in the factories or the industries which have been set up, and he is getting more income. Means apart from his agricultural income, he is also having some other income, That's why he is working in the industries, and agricultural land used for setting all those industries. And was he happy now? The question is, he is still not happy. Why? Because now the farmer become labor. And aftermath was that his dependency on agriculture has income has reduced, and his needs have increased, and the working in the factories to earn livelihood, and there is a queue before the factory gate for getting employment. And what was the system during those time? Because there was no permanent hiring policy, because this was the beginning of industrialization. So all those industries, they need worker. So all those workers who want to serve in some of the industries, they have to go stand in queue in front of those industries, and at stipulated time the gate of the factory was opened. And suppose today the factory manager is saying that today I need say 50 persons or 100 persons, so only those first 100 persons will be allowed to enter into the factory gate, and then the door was shut down, and the remaining workers, what will they do? Will they go back to their farmland? They cannot go back to their farmland or agriculture. Why? Because they have already sold their farmland, they have already sold their agricultural land to the industries, and now they become unemployed. And this is when the first time the term unemployment, it also started to be discussed in the among the masses. So now what was the policy of hiring labor? Like it was on first come first serve basis. So as I told you that the factory gate will be opened, and the first workers, say today I need 50 workers, so first 50 will be allowed to enter inside the factory. Tomorrow I need 200 workers, so first 200 workers will be allowed to enter. Next day I don't require any workers, so the factory gate will not be opened because it is a holiday. Next day only I need only say 100 number of workers, so 100 number workers will be allowed to enter into the factory gate. So the employment or the hiring of the labor was on first come first serve basis. And since it is on first come first serve basis, there is no formal training given to the workers, because every day we have to hire anew. So there is no time, there is no concept of giving training to the workers. And the next day, the result is that the next day the worker might be other than the one who worked the previous day, because every day we are hiring workers. So every day some worker is getting inside the factory, and the next day again the same worker will have to stand in front of the factory gate for getting employment. And tomorrow he may not be the same one, or she may not be the same worker to get inside the factory, and it may be the totally different worker. So this was the policy during that time. I'm talking about the late 18th century, 19th century. So the workers, as a result, when the worker will be allowed to enter into the factory gate, many a time it happens that the worker is is seeing the machines for the first time, because basically he was a farmer. So he has not seen the machines, he has not seen all those establishments or the shops or the floors or the factory from inside. So it might happen that he is seeing all those things, all those establishment and machines for the first time, and the result is that he did not know how to perform the job, because he do not know how to operate the machine. And today, if the worker somehow by trial and error method he has learned how to operate the machines, then tomorrow it will be a different set of worker will be coming, because he could not get employment tomorrow, and that's why he is left outside the factory, and a totally new worker is allowed inside the factory, and that worker is also again new. He do not know how to operate the machine, and because there was no training for them, and there is no permanent appointment policy for the worker. Every day there is a new policy, a new worker is coming into the scene, and that's why the worker, he do not know how to operate those machines, and this was a problem. And if a worker is not knowing how to operate the machine, how to do the production smoothly, then definitely, and there is no instructor there on to give instruction to the worker how to operate the machines, then definitely he will be learning by trial and error method. And definitely in the process of learning he will be making lot of wastages, lot of pilferage, lot of damage and breakdown is bound to happen. And ultimately, who will suffer all those losses? Definitely the factory owner has to bear all those losses, because there is no formal mechanism to induct the worker inside the factory, and there is no formal mechanism to impart training to the worker. Every day new worker will be coming, and there is a more wastage, as I already told you. Less educated worker, because basically all those workers were primarily they were farmers, and they are expert in working in farmland, but they are not very educated and they are not very proficient to work in an industrial setup. So this was the scenario, and in this situation it was the scenario in which F.W. Taylor emerges. What was the full name of F.W. Taylor? Frederick Winslow Taylor. And Frederick Winslow Taylor, primarily he was an engineer. He was an engineer working in a steel company. And F.W. Taylor, the history of F.W. Taylor was that when he was a young boy, he has lost his eyesight because of certain disease, and that's why he has to give up education. And he was undergoing medical treatment. After some time, he gained his eyesight after some treatment, and then he joined in a steel company, a steel factory, as an apprentice. Apprentice is the junior most position in a factory. So he was an apprentice in a factory, and in the night there was a college, an engineering college just besides the factory, and he took admission in that engineering college. So in the daytime he was working in the factory, and in the night he was studying engineering. And by the time he has completed his engineering, he became the chief engineer of this company, because he started as an apprentice. Then it was his dedication and his knowledge, he got promotion in the factory, and by the time he has completed his engineering degree, he became the chief engineer of this company. And Taylor have seen all those things, like how the workers are hired, how the workers are fired, how they are creating wastages, because he has seen all those workers working on those machines without having any formal training, without having any formal instruction, without having any formal guidance, that the workers are learning just based on the trial and error, and that's why in the process they are creating lot of wastage and a lot of damages are being done by the workers because of their no formal training. And Taylor have seen all those things. Just remember the context, in which context Taylor arises. He has seen all those things. Every day there is a new worker, and the worker is not at all motivated to work, because at the end of the day, whether you learn the job or you do not learn the job, you do the production, you do not know do the production, ultimately you will be getting your remuneration as the daily wage at the end of the day. And all you need to do is to just spend your whole day standing in front of the machine, and you will be given your wages. This is how the Taylor emerges into the scene. Okay, and that's why the first question that he has asked, that there has to be one best way of doing things, because there has to be certain solution to avoid all these problems. What was the problem? Problem of pilferage, problem of wastage, problem of damage, problem of more production, problem of quality production. But remember, who are the workers standing in front of Taylor? The workers are not educated, not trained, and they have seen the machines for the first time. They are not familiar with the environment. This was the situation, this was the context in which Taylor started looking at the problem. F.W. Taylor. And so the first question that he has find that every day there are new workers, and we need to appoint permanent workers. Because why this problem is there? That every day there are new workers. So we need to make some recruitment policy, that we need to hire some workers who will be working every day. So he had changed the recruitment policy of the company, and he has appointed some workers who will be working every day, who will be working on who will be performing their job on the machine every day, so that once whatever they have learned, that will not be eroded next day because of the coming of the new worker. And whatever he has learned today, the same knowledge will be carried by the workers next day also, and he will start from where he has left yesterday. Then he had seen that they are wasting materials. These workers are wasting material. Why? Because they are not trained, and that's why there is a need to train them. And he has started that there should be a formal training to the workers before inducting them to the job. So there has to be on the job training, off the job training, on the different types of training he has studied. What kind of training is to be given to the workers? Next question he has asked. And since they are not very educated, they are not very learned, as I told you that primarily they are the farmers. So strict instruction with respect to time and motion. Okay, that instruction has to be given, that there has to be some scientific way of doing things. Science, not hunches, has to be there to perform a job. Next problem he has faced, that they are not willing to work because they will get fixed remuneration at the end of the day. So what he has introduced? Taylor's differential piece rate system, that every worker will be given a task that they have to perform, they have to achieve a certain level of productivity, and if they will achieve that, then they will be given bonus. They will be given more remuneration than the fixed one, and they will be rewarded. And those workers who will not be able to achieve that level, so they will be penalized for that. And that's why he has, that is what he has introduced, Taylor's differential piece rate system. Then he has also observed that his efficiency is high during the initial hour of work and reduces gradually. What he has seen, that the worker is entering into the factory, say at 9 o'clock. So at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, at 11 o'clock, his efficiency is very high. But as the day progresses and he is working continuously on the machines or within the factory, his efficiency is getting reduced gradually. So initial hours of the day, his efficiency is very high because of the fact that he is very fresh, he is very energetic, but gradually he is losing all his interest and energy and enthusiasm because of this fatigue, and because of the fatigue actually. So he has introduced that there has to be a compulsory break after certain hours of working, that if a worker has to work 8 hours in a day, so after 4 hours there has to be a break, there should be a recess given to the workers, and so that they can charge themselves, and again when they will be going back to the work, they will be very much energetic and comfortable and enthusiastic, so that they can regain their lost efficiency. So the provision of break or the recess was introduced by F.W. Taylor during that time period. And what was the outcome? So all these things, whatever we have discussed, so this is known as scientific management. And that's why F.W. Taylor, this is a question asked. Those who have studied commerce or the management, they might be knowing that who is the father of scientific management, and the answer is, it is F.W. Taylor is considered as a father of scientific management. And the first paper that Taylor has brought out related to scientific management was in 1911, and probably it was for the first time in 1911 that the word process was inducted into the management, because he was talking about the scientific use of the processes, all those processes in the factory, because of this time study and motion study, or because of the recess, and all these processes has to be made scientific. So the word process was inducted into the management domain, or in the industrial domain, probably in the year 1911. It was by F.W. Taylor, and that's why he is considered as the father of scientific management. Now, what was his contribution? As I told you that the paper he has published was in 1911, and he died in the year 1915. So, in 1915, what was his contribution? So, scientific management focus on workers and machine relationship. So Taylor was the first person to discuss that there is some relation between the worker and the machines. If workers are trained, machines will be working properly, and if the workers are not taken care of, there will not be any productivity from the machines. There will be lot of wastage, lot of damages. So this was the contribution of F.W. Taylor, that is in the scientific management with respect to workers and machine relationship. And he taught that organizational productivity can be increased by increasing the efficiency of production process. So as I told you that he was talking about increasing uh, scientific use of these production processes. So he talked that organizational productivity can be increased by by increasing the efficiency of the process through scientific means. So this was his contribution. So if you just see what kind of approach was adopted by Taylor, so it is general, develop standard method for performing each job. That was fine. As already discussed, that there has to be standard method for performing each job. There should not be trial and error. There should not be hunches. There has to be a scientific way of performing each and every job. Means if some worker has to perform certain jobs, so it has to be like you have to follow scientifically like step 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and nothing beyond that. Trained workers in the standard method, so he has introduced the concept of training to the workers. Then he has introduced the concept of providing wage incentive to the workers for increased output, because if the worker is getting trained and he is follow the scientific method and he is also motivated to work, definitely at the end of the day his productivity and efficiency will increase and he will be uh, giving more productivity, he will be producing more. So there has to be some reward for increased output. So he has introduced Taylor's differential piece rate system, and he has selected workers with appropriate abilities for each job, like specialization of work or the division of labor was also introduced by F.W. Taylor, that if a worker has to do a particular job, he should be specialized in that job. He should not be make jack of all and master of none. He should be a master of one particular job only. So that was the concept also introduced by F.W. Taylor, specialization of labor, that a worker should be specialized in one particular area only, and in that field he should achieve mastery and he is supposed to perform that job only. And it was supported by the planning their work and eliminating interruptions that has to be done by the top administration. So this was the general approach of F.W. Taylor, that is scientific management. But Taylor also have to face a lot of criticism for what he has introduced in the industries or industrial world during that time. And what was that criticism? That the social context of workers were ignored, that a worker is not only a worker but he has certain social context also, he has certain emotions, he has certain anxiety, he has some certain abilities, certain skills also. So all those things have been ignored, and the higher needs of workers were ignored. Actually here the F.W. Taylor, he is focusing only about the lower level workers only, that only the workers will be given instructions and they will be performing as per the instruction, and the higher level workers and higher needs of the workers have been ignored. And he did not acknowledge the variance among the individual, that he was considering all the individuals are equally competent or equally incompetent, and it is the training, through training we can train them for a particular job. And he has not given any emphasis on the social context. That is the first criticism, that if a person is from a particular societal background, then he or she might be proficient in doing a particular kind of job and might not be proficient or efficient in doing some kind of job. That has totally been ignored, and he did not acknowledge this fact, and he did not acknowledge that variance among the individuals. And he assumption of worker, that the worker is totally uninformed. So a worker, when he will be coming to the factory, he will be totally uninformed, and it is actually we who will be training them and who will be cultivating or crafting them for a particular task. So that was also his assumption, and which is not true. An assumption that workers do not have any idea. Here the Taylor did not ask for delegation of authority. The worker need not to think. He is only to perform the instructions given, and he has to do the task, do the job as per the instructions given to him. That was the assumption of workers. Actually, Taylor, he has assumed that a worker, he has only two hands and one stomach, but his model of worker, it did not had a brain also, because he has assumed that a worker has a stomach which he need to fill, and he has two hands which he will be using those hands as per the instructions given by the authority, and his assumption that worker do not have any brain, so that there is no need or there is no requirement of asking any question or asking for any idea from the worker, and that's why a worker should not be allowed to think, and that's why there is no delegation of authority. Delegation of authority means a worker is given some power to, okay, you think yourself and do the decision and take the decision yourself. That was in Taylor's model of human being, because since as per his idea of a human being do not have any brain, and that's why this delegation of authority was totally discarded by F.W. Taylor. Okay. So this is all about the